Good morning, everybody. Here we are in a different location. We have been out to sea. So our last sail was Tuesday, the last day of September. And we sailed in at 3:30 in the afternoon with a deck load of passengers. And by 3:30 Wednesday afternoon, there were no sails left on the boat. There were no booms or gaffs left on the boat. There were no halyards or blocks left on the ship. They worked very hard and very quickly and stripped the ship. Unfortunately, that's not all the work that has to be done, but keeping the sails dry and the halyards dry and getting everything stripped off the ship quickly is a huge bonus. To do that within 24 hours, the crew worked hard at that. I hope they're proud of it. That's a good job done. The following work comes when you have to take everything else off the ship. All our safety equipment is put away, ready for inspection in the spring. This morning we lifted our anchors off, lifted the fire pump off, starting to put the framework up for the winter cover. And then we're also doing maintenance work. So one of the things that we lifted off this year was our bowsprit. We're going to get a new bowsprit. The other one is 26 or 30 years old, and that has run the course of its life. So we'll do a bit of work to it and put it aside as a temporary spare if we need it. But otherwise, we're going to have a new bowsprit. And that means a whole bunch of other work can be done around that bowsprit area that we usually wouldn't get to do. So lots of scraping and painting and investigations into wood that we usually can't get at. The crew were busy this morning sanding the foredeck. So that means renting floor sanders and stripping all the years and years of finish off the deck. We did the main deck in the spring. We had 61,300 people walk across that. Another 6,200 people sailing, plus our own use of it. So that fared well this summer. So make the foredeck look just that good. Try and do it every 10 years or so. That will strip the deck and start from new. So we're building the frame on. When they took the bowsprit out, that means all the ironwork associated with the bowsprit, that's all come off. That's all been cleaned up and got a fresh coat of paint and ready to go back on in the spring. Some of the deck boxes are starting to show wear, so we stripped those down and put the first primer coats on and the first finish coats on, so they'll be ready to finish in the spring. There's still stuff to do preparing for the winter, but we've got these beautiful fall days, so we're trying to do a little bit of making lives easier for ourselves in the spring. Being good to future self, as we say. We had a real treat this morning. Local alumni Norman bought a friend John. John hasn't been on the ship in 40 odd years, I think. It was 1983, I think he signed off last time, and followed a life out west on the west coast and came back, and so they got to meet the crew this morning. John has a very famous work story about himself, which the crew are told every year, and so they got to hear it from the horse's mouth this morning. So it's kind of neat when you think the original Bluenose lasted for 26 years, and the stories that were associated with hers. You know, this Bluenose has been sailing with young crews since 1963, so we're over 60 years. So there's a tremendous amount of stories and adventures that all the crews have had over the years. We try and pass those stories along and keep the history of the Bluenose 2 alive as much as the history of Bluenose. Anyway, lots more work to be done, and we'll probably see you once or twice more before we wrap up for the season. I think we're going on a road trip. So we'll go down and maybe have a look at the new bowsprit and see where it's being completed. And the museum here is open until late October. So if you're in town and you want to learn more about the Bluenose or just about the fisheries in general, right from the indigenous in a birch bark canoe up to modern day, Fisheries Museum here in Lunenburg is a place to visit. So come down and have a look at what the crew are doing behind the fence and spend some time here and have a look at the museum. Until next time.